Eleanor's family asked if I would say a few words and give my perspective on a very, very special woman in all of our lives. As the news of Eleanor's passing reached us in California, I'm not sure that I, or probably you, did not necessarily recall the person of Eleanor Oosterhoff. But I think all of us recall the impact of Eleanor Oosterhoff more than anything. Whether you have known her as family, whether that be your mom or your mother-in-law, whether she was your grandma, whether she was a sister-in-law, a cousin, an aunt, or a childhood friend, you have a warm-hearted story to tell about Eleanor Oosterhoff. If you were a neighbor here in Witchert, or in Manteno, or if you attended church with her, you can recall quite fondly a story of Eleanor's impact to you in some way or another. And then more recently, if you have been a caretaker in these last years, with her fading memory and failing body, you too have been touched by Eleanor. And so we come today to celebrate an incredible woman. We want to celebrate a life that probably changed your life, changed how you wanted to live your life, or changed how you understood what the love of God was. And you think of those memories of Eleanor. They are not about her as a person, as much as they are about the way she has affected us. The story of Eleanor forever changed the life of Alan and myself. And it happened near the lane on that farm not far from here in 1978. And it was a hot August afternoon, and Alan had stopped along that road to dig a few wildflowers out of the ditch to plant by our house not far away. As he recalls, out of nowhere, a small motor scooter barrels down that lane with 16-year-old Dwayne driving, head down, and Eleanor holding on for dear life on the back. Eleanor jumps off, of course, introduces herself and Dwayne, and in true Eleanor fashion, invited Alan to come to the house for a cold Shasta orange soda. Now, I tell that story not because it has been such a fond memory for Ellen and I and our children. That was the essence of Eleanor Oosterhoff. On that day, unbeknownst to her, she created a family here, away from our biological family, for Alan and I and our two children, Allison and Alex. So as I began to think about how to give a tribute to a person like that, I couldn't stop but ask, who really was Eleanor Oosterhoff? How are people going to recall her on the day in which we celebrate her presence with Jesus Christ, in the presence of Jesus Christ? Well, was it because she was such a great hostess? I would dare say that most of you, if not all of you here today, have sat around that farm table, either here or in Manteno, and you have shared a meal with her, you've shared coffee time with her. It never ceased to amaze me how she could make a kidney bean salad, which I didn't even like, and her hamburger Salisbury steak, and make it into a gourmet meal. But as I thought about this, I don't think it really was the food. I think it was her. She created such an environment that never focused on herself. When Eleanor entered the room, it wasn't so much to say, I'm here, as to say, I am so glad you are that was Eleanor Oosterhoff. Let's face it, not everyone needs or has to use a sheet as a tablecloth. Eleanor's table became so large that there was no tablecloth big enough. And so oftentimes it was a sheet that she used as a tablecloth, until I'm told that Aunt Clara made her that lace tablecloth, which June says she still has. Everyone was special to her. Everyone was a guest. Conversation was the music to her ears, and laughter was the balm to her soul. I often thought that she was that rare combination of Jesus' close friend, Mary and Martha. She cared for your heart as much as she cared for your stomach. Eleanor was a giver. But is that who really Eleanor was? At one time or another, all of us here today have left Eleanor with something that she gave you. She loved to give. She held very lightly to possessions. She gave when she saw a need. She gave without strings attached. And I think, again, all of us can say, we probably never left Eleanor's presence without a mama, or a hosta, or a banana bread, or a special devotion that she had picked out and found just for you. Or have you been the recipient of her heartfelt cards, her words of encouragement, or words of sympathy? Now, let's face that too. She wrote as fast as she thought and talked. So many times those cards, which we would get many times, and I know some of you too, it took us, the two of us, to figure out what Eleanor was saying. Because the writing was fast, it was furious, but you knew that there was something in there for you. And so we would decipher it. We would oftentimes take a couple days and say, okay, that's what she's talking about there. But they were always words of affirmation for you. I know in particular Lee Heisinger, who's here today, can also recall how Eleanor was so giving to her and Bob. Come and put up corn, Bob and Lee. Come for the day. Let's make it a party and take lots of that corn home with you. Eleanor was a giver. But was not Eleanor also a fierce friend? She loved people. She cherished people so many places along the road, staying connected with friends from her childhood that I know that are here today from Mount Greenwood Church, circle friends here at Richard Church, camping and snowmobiling friends, friends from around the country that Eleanor and Harry met while they were in Arizona and beyond, customers at farmers markets. I understand also the mail lady, cashiers in grocery stores. Eleanor was not a casual friend. Eleanor was an intentional friend. I have to just add here, I was just talking to Beverly in the foyer before the service, and of course, Beverly loved Eleanor so deeply. And she told me that that oftentimes Ed and Harry would sit on the bench outside the bathroom and would joke around as to how many friends Eleanor would come out of the bathroom with. I thought that was a precious story. I know we could continue to reminisce a long time today about who Eleanor was and the powerful examples of love for her husband Harry, her constant love, devotion, and care and support for Dwayne and Karen and Mark and June and the grandsons. Her intentional friendships in all spheres of her life. But in true tribute today to Eleanor, the story goes much deeper than that. I fear Eleanor would not approve of the words today that I might say about her, our tender stories of her impact on us today. she would want us to know what motivated her. Eleanor measured her success in life with a yardstick of love. Not an emotional love necessarily, but rather love as a verb, as action. She trusted in and loved Jesus so much, and he was her motivation. She desired more than anything else that everybody knew who Jesus was. Of all the people that I've known in my life, she modeled so clearly the two commandments that Jesus left his disciples. Love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And love your neighbor as yourself. That is Eleanor Oosterhoff. I can no longer read the Bible the same. I cannot look at Micah 6 verse 8 the same after knowing Eleanor. To hear God's requirement for my life, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. I know that in the rest of my life, and I trust in the rest of your life, she would want to know that we will continue that. To continue that requirement, not to focus on our successes, or our popularity, or our possessions, but to focus on the rest of our days of loving God first and our neighbor as ourselves. And really, isn't that the heart of the gospel? The heart of Jesus? And wasn't that the heart of Eleanor Oosterhoff? For everyone here today, and for the strangers along her way, love won every time. That is who Eleanor was. In closing, upon receiving the news of Eleanor's death, my daughter Allison posted a message, I think, which closes the chapter on Eleanor's life here on earth and begins that chapter that she is experiencing today and last week when she touched the face of God. Be so joyful and awed in your new residence, my most beautiful grandmother and friend. To know you truly was to love you and to adore you. I'm not sure anyone else could make anyone feel as seen, as wanted, included, and welcomed as you did. There was always room at your table and in your heart for one more. What a gift you were to this world. The way you nurtured plants and flowers, and the way you nurtured me and our family. It was such a joy to be loved by you. And I'm so glad that you are now in the place where you will be known, most loved and most free.
Thank you, Cheryl.